Netflix has done it again. Just when I thought they couldn't butcher The Witcher any further, they proved me wrong. Sirens of the Deep, their latest animated movie, was supposed to be a faithful adaptation of A Little Sacrifice, a fan-favorite short story from the Witcher books. Instead, what we got was a lifeless, uninspired mess that barely resembles the original tale. At this point, I should have known better. It was written by the same people who gave us The Witcher Season 3, so really, what chance did it have? But even knowing that, I wasn't prepared for just how bad it would be. They stripped out everything that made the original story special and replaced it with generic writing, forgettable characters, and somehow, a Little Mermaid rip-off. So, let's talk about Sirens of the Deep, what went wrong, why it fails as an adaptation and as its own story, and how Netflix continues to misunderstand The Witcher. For those unfamiliar, A Little Sacrifice is one of the more quiet, character-driven stories in the Witcher series. It follows Geralt and Dandelion as they take on small, odd jobs to make ends meet. One involves mediating between a duke and a mermaid in love, while another has Geralt investigating missing pearl divers. But the real heart of the story isn't these jobs, it's the emotional struggle between Geralt, his past love for Yennefer, and a new potential romance with Essi, a talented bard who falls for him. It's a beautifully written story, full of subtle character moments and heartbreak. But instead of adapting that, Netflix decided, nah, let's turn it into an underwater war story with a villainous sea witch. Yeah. It's that bad. The original A Little Sacrifice was a quiet, emotionally charged story about love, longing, and regret. It wasn't some grand, high-stakes adventure. It was an introspective tale that explored Geralt's feelings for Yennefer through his interactions with Essi Daven, a bard who falls in love with him. The whole point of the story was that, despite Essi being kind, talented, and beautiful, Geralt simply does not love her. And that realization terrifies him, because what if Yennefer feels the same way about him? But Netflix took that subtle, meaningful story and did what they do best, shoved it through the Witcher adaptation meat grinder. Instead of being about Geralt's internal struggles, Sirens of the Deep turns into an all-out war between humans and merfolk. The Duke from the original story is now a prince, and his romance with a mermaid is no longer a subplot, it's the main plot. His father, the king, disapproves, there's political scheming, and of course, we get a classic evil sea witch. And I wish I was joking, but there is literally a scene where she sings while brewing a potion. Yes. This is a Witcher story now. And if you think that's bad, let's talk about Essi Daven, one of the most well-written and heartbreaking side characters in the entire series. In A Little Sacrifice, Essi is an incredibly well-crafted character. She's not just Geralt's sidekick, or Dandelion's friend. She's a fully realized person, charming, witty, and deeply human. She falls for Geralt hard, and while he respects her and even finds her attractive, he doesn't love her. That's the tragedy of the story, Geralt's realization that love isn't a choice, and that no matter how much he wants to feel something for Essi, he can't. Netflix took that layered, nuanced character and turned her into, well, a self-insert power fantasy. In Sirens of the Deep, she's not a bard struggling with unrequited love, she's a flawless, hyper-competent, badass warrior bard who outshines Geralt at every turn. She takes over his role as the translator between the prince and the mermaid. She follows him for a key conversation instead of the other way around. She's never vulnerable, never struggles, and never grows. And of course, when Geralt rejects her, instead of that bittersweet, heartbreaking moment from the book, she just shrugs it off like, yeah, I didn't really want you anyway. Because God forbid we let Geralt's story have any emotional weight. And then, there's Dandelion's childhood flashback subplot. Because apparently, what Witcher fans really wanted was a deep dive into Dandelion getting bullied as a kid. No, seriously. That's a thing in this movie. Most of his flashbacks involve him being timid and weak, constantly saved by, guess who, Essi Daven. Because of course she saves him. And for what? It builds to a single moment where his childhood bully has a redemption arc, only to immediately die. That's it. It adds nothing, it goes nowhere, and all it does is waste time. This could have been used to explore Dandelion's personality, his growth as a bard, or literally anything interesting. Instead, we got pointless backstory that leads nowhere. If you've read A Little Sacrifice, you know its ending is brutal. Before parting ways, Geralt gives Essi a sky blue pearl, telling her he envisions it set in silver and that as long as she carries it, it'll protect her from all evil. The next day, she does exactly that. She has the pearl set in silver, just as he described. And then? After they part ways, Essi travels to Vizima, contracts smallpox, and dies. Dandelion finds her body and buries her with her two most treasured possessions, her lute, and that sky-blue pearl. It's devastating. It's one of the most unforgettable moments in the Witcher books. And naturally, Netflix completely erased it. Instead, Sirens of the Deep just ends. Essi walks away. The Mermaid Prince love story wraps up in the most predictable way possible. And that's it. No tragedy, no weight, no emotional impact. It's a hollow, empty ending to a hollow, empty movie. At its core, Sirens of the Deep suffers from the same issue as Netflix's Witcher series, a complete misunderstanding of why these stories resonate with fans. The original A Little Sacrifice was a quiet, emotional, and deeply human tale about unrequited love, personal regret, and the idea that love isn't a choice. It was never about war, royal drama, or magical sea witches. But instead of adapting what made the story great, Netflix decided to reshape it into yet another generic, uninspired fantasy adventure. What's bad? A butchered adaptation. Almost everything meaningful from the original short story was removed or rewritten beyond recognition. Instead of an emotional character-driven tale, we get a Little Mermaid-style romance and an underwater war nobody asked for. One of the most memorable side characters in The Witcher is turned into a flawless, unrelatable protagonist who overshadows Geralt. Dandelion's childhood flashbacks had nothing of value and feel like filler. The most heartbreaking moment of A Little Sacrifice, Essi's tragic fate, is completely erased, leaving us with an ending that has zero impact. What's good? As always, Cockle delivers an excellent performance, bringing the right amount of gruffness and depth to the character. Most of the cast does a good job with the material they're given, even if the script doesn't do them justice. While not groundbreaking, the animation quality is fine, making the action sequences visually engaging. Ultimately, Sirens of the Deep is yet another example of how Netflix continues to mishandle the Witcher franchise. It could have been a faithful, emotionally resonant adaptation of one of the best short stories in the series, but instead, it's just another forgettable, soulless fantasy flick. And that's Sirens of the Deep, a movie that had the potential to be something special but ended up as just another soulless, forgettable adaptation. At this point, I don't even know why I'm surprised. Netflix has made it clear they don't understand The Witcher, or worse, they don't care. They keep watering down the depth, the nuance, and the emotional weight of these stories, replacing them with generic, by-the-numbers fantasy plots that completely miss the point. But hey, that's just my take. Did you watch Sirens of the Deep? If so, what did you think? Did it work for you, or did it fall flat? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this breakdown, leave a like, it really helps out. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.